But here, on the very rim of known space, justice is a long way away.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie podcast. I, as always, am I am my co-host. Oh my god!
You are your own co-host.
I am also my own grandpa. Off to a great start today, friends. I am your co-host, Brian. Joining us, as always, is your co-host, Spaz.
This could have been a meeting. Oh wait.
Hi, Chris. Your co-host, Julie.
Hello from the Midwest, where the hot peppers are finally in the ground.
Is that a good thing?
That is a good thing. We ran out of homemade hot sauce.
Oh no! I mean, I can't stand hot sauce, so for me that's fine.
Yeah, can't buy Reaper hot peppers in your grocery store.
Also joining us is your co-host, Jacob. Jacob?
Apologies. Sorry, I'm still waking up.
No worries. And your co-host, David.
To refer to all activities outside. Not the bees! Well, these are nice bees, so I'm not going to be too scared of them.
Oh, I hate bees. Bees terrify me. Absolutely. I one time, first tangent, when I was still living in my grandparents' house, I heard this in my room. I'm like, what the hell is that? I don't know. Next thing I know, there's a bee the size of my middle finger flying inches from my head. I ran out of the house. I was on the second level and I ran out of the actual house. Apparently, they colloquially call them B-52s, and they're completely harmless. But God, that scared the ever-living crap out of me. Anyway, Thorsten is still on assignment. Hopefully, he'll be joining us again soon. But friends, different topic today. Well, sort of a topic. Like, I have a tough time. I've been having a tough time lately coming up with topics, and I don't like bugging I don't like bugging you guys, my co-hosts, about topics, because this isn't supposed to feel like work for you. This is just, I want you guys to just show up and have a good time. I don't want you to do homework. You know what I mean? This is like, I'm the Space Game Junkie. I feel like I should do the work. You know what I mean? And you guys should have the fun, because I asked you to be here. You know what I mean? So since I asked you to be here, I'm always reluctant to ask you guys for topic ideas, because I'm like, I don't know. I don't want them to do work. And you know, it kind of feels like work. But I have been struggling lately. And friends, before you say, Brian, why don't you have guests on? I don't have the mental bandwidth for guests right now. I don't have the
And also, guests don't have the mental bandwidth for us.
That might be true.
At times.
That's
Also,
At times, yeah.
I wanted to point out I gave you over 30 topics. I feel my work is done.
No.
I'll try and contribute.
Well, you said those topics we've been using for Spin the Wheel, so we have been using those.
Yes.
But I want,
Yes, you have.
I want something a little more, not meat on the bone, but something a little. I want something. So I thought of this idea where, why don't we all bang our heads together and we'll come up with ideas. So since I have a couple to start our brains going. So because Thorsten isn't here, he came up with the idea of mobile space games. I've been kind of reluctant to do this one because it involves homework, especially for me. But now that I have a tablet and I've been playing more mobile space games, especially on Android, I think, Chris, when you say Gritty, I think of the Philadelphia Flyers mascot, Gritty, and who I love to death, by the way. Gritty is Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is Gritty. So I thought, mobile space games, now that I have a tablet, been playing a lot more mobile games, that could be a fun topic. So what we're going to do, friends, is once we suggest a topic, we're going to ask if any of our co-hosts have any objections. If they don't, we're going to add it to the list. So, friends, do you have any objections to mobile space games being on the list?
No, especially since there are lately a lot more space games on Switch.
I will have nothing to contribute.
That's fine.
Because I've intentionally bought a phone that is too crap for most games.
Jacob?
Precisely so I...
These topics don't require all six of us to contribute something. So
fair enough.
If you're there just to react, or just to laugh, that's fine. You know, I want this to be as easy an experience on everyone as possible. You know what I mean? So I don't know if I play. That's a good question. I don't know Hades Star. That sounds familiar. I might have installed it on my tablet and just haven't played it yet. Chris, let me take a look. I might have just installed it but not played it yet. I once I got that tablet, I installed like a zillion games. Oh, I don't have it installed on my tablet. I'm going to do that right now. All right. Thank you for the suggestion. There's another one. And a while back, Ferd de Boer over on YouTube came up with the idea, what would you change in gaming if you could go back in time? Like, you know how a lot of people say if you can go back in time and you'd kill Hitler? You know what I mean? If you could only do something in relation to gaming and going back in time, what would you do? I think that's a fun topic. Do we have any objections?
No, that one's easy because Richard.
Don't answer. Don't answer.
No. Save it for the show. My God, save it for the show.
No objection.
No objection.
Sounds good to me.
All right, we got two. We got two going. All right, now, and chat. By the way, you are more than welcome to also suggest topics. We are definitely we'll see if we have any objections to those two. But chat, we are definitely open to topics from you guys as well. Please feel free to chime in if you have an idea. So, to give my brain,
and I should note, we reserve the right to decline on taking on certain topics, and
that's the objection thing. That's the objection. That's the objection thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But also I'm going to add, for anyone who's listening to this afterward, this is going to be up on YouTube. Leave us a comment if you have a topic to suggest.
I think it's a great idea.
And we can come back to this later.
Or on the Space Game Junkie website, where this will also be up in a day. So leave a comment somewhere, either YouTube or on the website, and we'll definitely, But yeah, leaving a comment, leaving an idea is no guarantee we will do it. Thank you for that disclaimer, Spaz. Play more game. I don't know what you mean, Jack. So now that I have thrown out a couple of topic ideas, do you guys have anything that comes front to mind for you? That's fine if you don't. We'll just bang. Well, that's the whole idea of this thing is like if we can't think of something like right away, we bang our heads together until something comes along. Like we don't do a lot of shows about hardware. We really don't. I think we've done maybe one or two about hardware. The only problem with hardware is that there's so many different pieces of hardware. There's so many different configurations. If we were going to do a show about hardware, what would we talk about? If we're going to do a show about hardware,
are you suggesting like peripherals or actual?
Anyway, anything. Okay. We could. That's a question though. Could we focus it? Like, are we talking about like what are our favorite gaming peripherals?
I do have a suggestion there.
Go for it.
In that regard, and that is more and more there are a lot of handheld devices, and I don't mean just Switch. There are a lot of Switch. There's the one that Valve has. There are also a lot.
There are so many. There's so many emulator little devices like from Odin, and yeah, there are tons of them.
There's a channel I subscribe to on YouTube that talks just about these, and a good subject would be to sit down and compare these and say, first off, what kind of thing are you looking for? If you're looking for something that just plays Nintendo games, you're kind of limited. But if you're looking for something that will also play Android, well, that expands your market. Plus, it's like, what kind of things give you not just what you're looking for, but give you the most for your dollar? And how do you get the most for your dollar? For example, if you're going to buy a Nintendo Switch 2, wait till the ideas for tariffs come crashing to the ground, because that will that is said by many experts to tack at least $200 onto the price, which is why they canceled the pre-orders in America.
Right,
and I don't know if they're doing it. And so a show comparing, if you're talking about hardware, comparing the merits of one device over the other, and that type of topic could go over more than one show.
Yeah, that sounds like a topic. That sounds like a topic that could cover several shows, because I think we would have to compartmentalize that. You know, that is such a broad thing. That's such a broad thing. We would have to silo it a bit. You know what I mean? We'd have to come up with like. I like it though. Let's see. So hardware. So I guess we could talk about. So
I do have another suggestion when that's done.
Okay, let's focus on this one right now. So maybe we could do like. Okay, I have an idea. So how about Android games, iOS games. The iOS ones will be easy. And emulation. So
no, actually, let's not use that last one.
Oh,
that's getting into gray area topics. That's a bad idea.
Well,
no, I don't think we should go there. We should not go there. It's too much liability on there.
Okay. Damn it.
Sorry. No,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I can't disagree with you. Yeah. I want to disagree with you, but I can't. That's the thing. I want to be like, no, we should do it. But you're right. You're fucking right.
There is one way you could do that and not get in trouble, and that is who's doing the emulation. The Nintendo Corporation has emulation, and they have their emulated games, which you can play on Switch, versus the ones that are they're being emulated on the original devices, and one is better than the other often.
See, this is what I was thinking. If you allow me, Spaz, I wasn't talking about like where to get the emulated games or whatnot. I was going to talk about the emulators themselves, because those are like available on the Play Store. You know, you can get Magic DOSBox. You can get, so I just want to talk about the merits maybe of which of these devices runs emulation the best. Not talk about the games themselves, because that's the weirder, but you could freely get these emulators like on the Play Store. And iOS now allows emulators on their iOS devices. So I think there is merit to talk about emulation from a technical standpoint. We won't talk about where to get the games. You know what I mean? We won't talk about like none of that bullshit. We'll talk about like, this if you're looking for 4.3 Android emulation for like Game Boy games, you know, to use this emulator or whatever, this one. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Does that pass muster, do you think?
I think so. I think so, because in that case, you're not talking about the software per se. You're talking about the hardware being
exactly that. Exactly. I wanted to talk about like MAME, for example, or DOSBox is another good one. Or there are on Android, there is a Dreamcast emulator. There is a Vita emulator. A PS3 emulator just went in alpha, which I haven't tried yet. My God, a PS3 emulator. So
the one thing we got to be careful about is that even emulators themselves can get legal action against them.
Right.
Just for having that. So we've got to be very careful about how we discuss it.
Right. I agree. But I think emulation from a technical / hardware perspective is an interesting thing to talk about. And I'm not going to get into any of the abandonware, where to get the games bullshit. No, we're not talking about that. I'm talking about just the hardware. Because like I got this new tablet. I keep gushing about it, I know, but I've emulated like 8 consoles on that thing. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. The work being, and I think that's what I want to celebrate also, is the work being put into these emulators. There is so much good work being put into these things. It's fascinating. So hang on a second. Maybe So I think hardware could be broken into. Yeah, why don't we break hardware into 2 different shows? We'll talk about the games you can get on the respective stores, like Play Store and the iOS store, and that'll be one show. That'll be one show, and then hardware emulation is a much broader topic, so I think that should be its own show because there are a lot more options when we're talking about. Oh yeah, and Chris brings up an interesting point: source ports like VCMI for the Heroes of Might and Magic games. That's also a form of emulation, if you think about it. So I think we have two shows out of hardware, and that could also work with the mobile space games topic that Thorsten came up with, because that's we could have a multi-week thing talking about mobile stuff. First we talk about the games, and we're only talking about the games on the stores, and then we could talk about the next week. We could talk about the best devices to use for those games that we talked about. You know what I mean? And then we could talk about emulation as a separate thing. So do we have any objections for those two episodes?
No.
No problem.
Great. And yeah, I know we'll have to be very clear and careful on the emulation one thing, but I think we can do it and have a good time with it, because emulation is fascinating. The more I've been diving more into emulation, like the things these people are doing to emulate these old machines is absolutely astounding. Like I think they deserve to be celebrated, and I think that's where we would do it. But not talking about like the games themselves. That's a whole different kettle of fish, and we're not going to talk about that one. Yes, Jose, we are doing a topic roundtable where you and us come up with ideas for future shows. Because I've been straining to come up with ideas, and my brain is full of panic and stress right now. So it's been difficult to come up with ideas. So I'm like, why don't we just bang our heads together and do it live? Fuck it, we'll do it live. And so far we have 4 topics now. That's great.
I have a couple.
Yeah, Julie, you said you had something to talk about after the hardware thing. Go ahead.
Right. First off, and this would involve a particular game or types of games that are available on more than one platform. For example, No Man's Sky. Some people bitch about, portable, it doesn't have this and doesn't look as good. But the fact is, it's portable. The only thing that's missing is there's none of the little villages that you can do. But sometimes there's a game that it's like, you'd swear, for example, when Skyrim first came out portable, that somebody must have sold their soul, for example, to put Skyrim or The Witcher on portable. And so you could compare and contrast if you have a particular game that's available across particular space game, for example, available across more than one platform, the pros and cons of each. The other particular idea, and I know this is kind of like a nebulous thing.
Hang on, go back.
Let's take it one at a time.
One at a time.
All right.
Let's take it one topic at a time.
I'm a little confused by this idea. You want to talk about the differences between ports of?
Yeah, that's the idea. Like a port of a particular game. If a game is being ported to PC, is there something about it that is better than the others or worse than the others? You could expand it to like ports in general.
Well, here's okay. I'm going to say I have an issue with this one. It's not a bad idea. The problem is I don't think we all have the hardware involved to be able to speak to this. I don't have a PlayStation, for example. I couldn't talk about the PlayStation port of No Man's Sky, for example. Maybe Spaz could. I don't know, but
I could, yeah.
Right, but I worry that we'd have to lean more on anecdotal, like what other people say for this, rather than our own opinions. Does that make sense? Because I don't have a PS4 or PS5. I only have a Switch. Spaz, you have a PS4, right?
Yes.
David, yes. and Jacob, do you guys have any consoles?
Old ones.
Old ones. Yeah, me too. So
the frame of reference is going to be off for half of us.
Yeah, that's what
problem.
Yeah, I don't think this. I hate shooting your idea down, Julie. I'm sorry, but I don't think we could pull this one off because we don't all have the necessary hardware or experience to talk to it sufficiently. You know what I mean? I think.
Oh, sure.
And I don't want to lean more toward anecdotal, like what people say on Reddit. I don't want to do that. You know, that's I don't want to do that.
You can just go on Reddit.
Yeah, I know, but
it wouldn't be fair to compare between PC to console if only one of us has played the console version, regardless of what that console is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little bit more difficult to do that and still.
Yeah, like if we're talking about No Man's Sky, I could speak to the Switch version, and Julie, you could speak to the Switch version. Spaz can't, David can't, and Thorsten probably can't, and Jacob can't. So I don't think that would work. I'm sorry. I like the basis of the idea, but I think practically, I don't think for us it's going, unless we all had Xbox Ones and PS5s and PCs. If we all had a way to each of us compare these ports, that would be fun.
Now to tweak the idea, the way it could work, is if we're talking mobile versus PC ports.
But even then,
more of us would have but more of us would have a basis to speak on about it. But even then, it's still kind of iffy.
It's still tricky. I think it's a little too tricky. Like Jacob says, he has a very old phone that doesn't run a lot of games, for example. So I think that would also be a bit exclusionary. So yeah, I just can't get behind that one, Julie. I'm sorry. I think it's a good basis of an idea, but I think practically, I don't think we could pull it off. Honestly.
Got two more.
Oh, go for it.
All right. The next one would be, and I've seen examples of this a lot, and that is, I've seen normally. All right, let's go back on the other show I'm on. If you go back to show 100, the common thing a lot of people was saying there is one person even said, go mobile or go home. But yet now when I think about mobile gaming or especially free-to-play gaming, normally my mind shuts off instantly. But yet there are a lot of games where I feel it's free to play, and if you don't put a nickel into the game, it's just fine. Two games that come to mind are Star Trek Online and Lord of the Rings Online. But free to play versus subscription, and there are a lot of games where you can play it both ways. And so the two compare and contrasted what kind of things that are common to many free-to-play versions, and you don't have to talk about a particular company because that can get controversial. But I'm saying what particular mechanics, for example, the way the people who own now, because it was sold a while back, the people who own Star Trek Online, if you don't want to put money into this game, several times a year, they give away not just some stupid little ship, but a really nice one. Or some Lord of the Rings Online. If you have a way if you have the stick-to-itiveness to do it, they have a way for you to earn the little funny money that they play in game. So that funny kind of thing. That's
no, I like
one
it.
idea.
No, so I would call that one free-to-play mechanics and how we feel about them. Because I have a similar reaction to you when I see a game that's free to play. I'm like, I don't want to touch this. But I feel differently on mobile. Like I've downloaded a lot of mobile games that are free to play, like Diablo Immortal, for example, where I haven't felt that way about it being free to play. It's very strange. So that could be like, that could be an interesting topic. So how do you feel about that title, free to play mechanics and how we feel about them? I think that's a good idea. Any objections?
No objections.
I think that's a solid idea.
So monetization in free-to-play games.
What was that? Sorry?
Monetization in free-to-play games, basically.
Sort of.
No. The mechanics that are not monetization related.
Yeah.
No, the mechanics that work and the mechanics that don't. Not necessarily what brings in money. I'm talking about what mechanic is something that works and one that doesn't. If you're going to talk about monetization, it's something like, something that's a mechanic that you can ignore the monetization if you want to. That's the idea of something done right.
Yeah, right. A way to, say, for example, earn the currency that you normally would pay for.
Okay, free-to-play mechanics beyond monetization and how we feel about them.
There we go.
Boom. Love it. Done. Great. All right. This is great. Okay, Julie, what you said you had another one.
Yeah, I got one more, and this involves a guest, and I can invite the guest if you want. And that's the deal. This is
okay.
Or pass on the guest.
No. Go ahead.
We've done this in the show. We invited on show 200. We invited Richard Bartle. And I've talked about Dr. Bartle before, and he's retired now. He just retired. And what we did a show about was where we thought particular aspects of the gaming industry were going. You know, it's like, where will the space game industry pick up in the future? Just sort of a broad topic to speculate on, something fun to just kind of.
Does he know about space gaming? Is he in?
No, well, I just use that as an example because this is the Space Game Junkie podcast. But if you talked about like the future of gaming in general, that's something we have talked about.
So the future,
and not necessarily to have him on. I do know one thing he has talked about. On the other show that we had, if you could do one thing, what would have done? Because he's done a whole show about that before as well.
What do you mean? If you can do, what does that mean? If you can do one,
if you could do one, we've talked about what would you do differently?
Wait.
In gaming, what we talked about, what one thing in gaming, if you could do it differently, what would you do? We've talked about like that with him as well. But the idea is just to talk about in general, where do you think it's going? Do you think there's a future in VR, for example? Or do you think that's like a pipe dream? Just kind of a speculation on the future of gaming.
I told you that I don't have the brain juice for guests right now. But it's not a bad idea. But guest.
I think we could table that to a future time and then bring it back up.
Yeah, I'm going to table that one. We're keeping it, but I'm tabling it until maybe I'm in a better headspace. Does that make sense? Because I like the idea. I'm keeping the idea on the list, but we're not going to do it right now. Is that okay, Julie?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a good idea. I can't even, just the idea of having a guest on right now just makes my brain hurt. I don't know why. I just don't have the brain space to, like, okay, I think I know what it is now that I've told it out loud. I don't have the social capacity right now to deal with people I don't know. Does that make sense?
And even for a repeat guest at this point, I could see that.
Yeah, I just realized this. I don't have the social, and it's nothing personal to any particular guest. I just don't. Yeah, I just don't have the. Like, my social anxiety right now is peak, and I have a hard time dealing with anyone I don't know. And, okay. Like, I'll tell you guys, when I get a DM on Discord, for example, I'm like, ah! What do you want? Oh, okay. It's okay. You know what I mean? So just... Jose. Oh wait, we have another idea. AI, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Jack, Do we want to broach the topic of AI? I don't think we have, really. Have we? I don't think we have.
I don't think so.
Do we want to? I mean, that's going to be...
It's a spicy topic.
It's gonna,
is it going to be...
Yeah, that's a very...
It's going to be very spicy. It's going to be...
topic.
Is it going to be anything except us just screaming at the world for an hour?
I mean,
like, we could do that.
That could be a good podcast. That could be a good show.
It would be... It would be screaming. It would be me screaming at the void for about 45 minutes straight, I think.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I think we should talk about it because it's becoming more and more prevalent. I've made my stance clear that I'm not covering games that use any kind of generative AI, but I just learned there are different types of AI. There's the generative AI that is the biggest source of contention. I believe it's called adaptive AI, which is being used in medicine. Which
there's all sorts of nonsense.
There's
yes.
There's also the sort of middle ground of using generative AI. And I was just talking about this with David Gervais, the artist for Approaching Infinity. I was just talking about this with him the other day. Is that there's a way to use AI upscaling.
Yeah.
On art, and then tweaking it further.
Yeah,
which is not generative.
I'm fine with AI being a tool to enhance human creativity, not to replace human creativity. So maybe that's
right. And that's something that he's used on Approaching Infinity. So
okay, I like
that's why
this
I'm
idea.
mentioning it. There is that middle ground where. Yes, it's being used, but it's also being used in a way that enhances what's already there and isn't being used to generate.
All right, so
and I think that's kind of my cutoff point for how far I'm willing to say.
No, I agree.
Cool.
I agree. Like if you're using the AI to maybe help with a little bit of coding, maybe to clean up your code, that you made, But like,
except typically it doesn't really do much.
No, I know, but like, I've seen people use AI to upscale things. I've heard of AI that's like helping cure disease because it can help. It can like read cells better than a human mind could. So maybe the topic would be AI, the different types of AI, and how we feel about them in gaming. Something like that.
That would still be worth a little bit of homework for us.
Yeah, it would be a little bit of homework.
So we all know.
Yeah, it would be a little bit of homework, but I don't think it would be too bad, and I think it would be kind of interesting. Because I think if we learn about these different types of AI, I think we could be better in the conversation about AI. We can handle ourselves better in the conversation about AI. So I think it would be kind of an educational show for us too. So I like that idea, Jack. I think it's a good idea. Yeah, I'm not fond like Galsa 4's AI, for example. That's not the type we like. That's
purely generative.
That's purely generative.
What I don't want.
Yeah, we don't want that. That's what we don't want. It's replacing human creativity. That's what we don't want. Okay, so group effort. Now we're gonna say that Jack spawned that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's see. Let's see. La. I'm just looking through the chat. I think we did do a show on our favorite game music. Have we done that with this new crew?
That was in 2019 when we last did the music show. That was a while back.
Was that with the old crew or is that with this new crew? I don't think we've done it with the new crew. Have we? I don't think so.
1 second.
Yeah, take a look.
1 second. That was episode 245.
Oof. So long ago.
Yeah, that's how long ago it was.
My God.
Yeah, it was with the old crew.
All right. We haven't done one with the new crew. So, boom. Favorite gaming music and soundtracks. We haven't done one with the soundtracks.
The only drawback to... the only problem with that is we can't play any samples because...
No, that's fine, though. I think people will understand. I think people will understand. Yeah. All right. So I'm calling that one Favorite Gaming Music and Soundtracks 2.0. And who came up with the idea? Jose. Jose came up with that idea. Thank you, Jose. Great. Terrific. Now we have good chunk of topics. We're doing great, guys. We are trundling along. This is why I like. The only good thing about Stellaris is the music. The character creator is also pretty good. That's really it.
Yeah,
that's really it.
It is.
I mean, it does have a good soundtrack.
But it's a great
have a great soundtrack. It is an interesting game to sit in the like faction creator and imagine how it would work in a story.
Yeah.
And then you play the game and it's
just what was I thinking? I'm gonna go play Old World. I'm gonna go play something.
Go play better. Master of Orion.
Yeah, I'm gonna play something much better. Okay.
Emperor of the Fading Suns.
Emperor of the Fading Suns. Excellent. Another excellent one. Oh, okay, great. This is great. This is great. All right. I'm trying to think of another. Does any of you guys co-host? Has anything come to mind since we started talking about all this? Any ideas you guys have come up with? If not, that's fine. No stress. I don't want you to feel. Oh shit. Stress.
Jack has brought up remakes.
Oh, remakes.
Remakes and remasters.
Those?
Actually,
those can be contentious. Those can be contentious, but that can be a good thing.
That can make for a good show. Remakes and remasters. I like it. Any objections?
No.
Okay.
We could probably do that in a two-parter, depending on how the first show goes.
Yeah.
Just to keep that. Just make a note of that, because remakes and remasters can be treated differently.
Yeah. Possible two-parter. Okay, great. Yeah, we can do
possible two-parter. Yeah.
Possible two-parter. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, remakes and remasters. Yeah, they could be very different. Like what would you call Starfleet 2.0? That's a remaster. I would call that one because game was
definition. You'll leave that for the show.
I'm just as an example.
The reason I'm bringing it up is because sometimes, I mean, look at Approaching Infinity. That is, even though the art style has changed a lot, it's not exactly a remaster. But what we have right now is something like a 3.0.
Yeah, at least a 2.0, but yeah, definitely.
No, internally they call it a 3.0.
Oh, do they?
Because of all the art changes. Yeah, because of all the art changes, because of all of the stuff that's been added, it's like a 3.0.
Oh, that actually makes sense.
Oh, yeah. So internally, that. So that's why I'm bringing up the. Oh, go ahead.
Spiritual successors. That's a good one. But where would that fit in?
Spiritual successors wouldn't fit into either remakes.
No, that might be its own thing. Would that? Is there enough meat on that bone for a show?
There have been plenty of ones that I think would qualify.
Yeah, all right. All right, I like that.
I mean, if you look at Approaching Infinity as a spiritual successor to Starflight in a way, that fits.
And Rogue, really.
And Rogue, yeah.
And Rogue. Oh yeah, I heard that too, Jose. It seems to be okay now. You kind of went out there for a second, Spaz, but you're back. It's fine.
Okay.
Games for short sessions versus campaigns versus long sessions I mean, we kind of did that with the games that respect our time. Topic.
And we've done coffee break games as well. We've covered that before.
Yeah, we have. So
now we haven't really covered games for epic campaigns, if we really want to go that route.
Like grand, like multi-session grand campaign type of games, like Distant Worlds, for example, that kind of thing. Like
or ones that have enough playability that, again, going back to Approaching Infinity, my last campaign in that, my last run, was over 5 days of game time.
Boy.
And so some games actually do lean into that where that's a long game. Yeah, if we were to expand it to taking it in that direction, I could see that.
Okay, so we're talking about like the best long games or what we're looking for in a long like campaign game, that kind of thing.
Let's go with long games, not just respecting your time. Because if you're going to play a long game, your time is already impacted enough. Let's just say long games that draw you in.
Long games that draw you in for the long haul?
Yeah, because if you're going to commit to that, it's got to draw you in, right?
Okay. Yeah. No, I like it. Who came up with that idea? That was like a joint effort, I think. Came up with that one. Someone did. It started with Jack, but I think
it started with Jack, ended with me, I guess. But yeah, it doesn't matter.
I just want to give credit.
It doesn't matter.
I just want to give credit where credit is due. You know, when we bring up these topics, I want to say who came up with the idea. You know what I mean? So I just thought of an idea. Someone mentioned emulated MMOs. And we haven't really talked about that. I mean, we've talked about Jumpgate, but there are other spacey emulated MMOs, you know, resurrected MMOs, basically. MMOs that were shut down, but through the hard work of fans have been brought back to life. Could that be a fun topic? There are several, actually. So that I can think of just off the top of my head. So do we have any objections on that one?
No.
What?
I'm out of the MMO scene, but I have no objections.
Right.
Yeah, stuff like that.
That's fine. I mean, we could tell it's not just, you know, playing the MMOs, but the technical work that went into like reverse engineering them and stuff like that. So, or games in general that have been brought back to life. That could be a separate topic. But how would they have been?
It could dovetail. It could dovetail into it.
How would that Unreal Tournament? How is Unreal Tournament brought back to life? I mean, there's still user-made servers out there. Is that what we're talking about? Or the Free Space project, for example, is that what we're talking about? You know, but with that could be a separate topic, like resurrected space games. You know, resurrected. Maybe this goes beyond MMOs. Maybe this would be a multi-show topic. Because we could do resurrected
so
MMOs.
Maybe it starts off with MMOs,
right?
Because that's a very, very common point for a lot of our listeners.
Yeah.
And then we dovetail that into other space games that have been resurrected for whatever reason. Starfleet 2, Approaching Infinity, for example, those two easily come to mind.
Free Space,
Free Space, yeah. So that I think could work as a multi-show.
Yeah,
deal.
That could definitely work. Okay. Again, hang on, who gets the credit for that? Chris and Spat. I just want to make sure we give credit when we talk about these topics. And then, but that could also be the remastered show, David. Can you talk about System Shock 2 remastered?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, David, your last topic, your last comment there gave me an interesting idea. What technical marvels are we impressed with in gaming? Like reverse engineering System Shock 2, for example. I would call that something of a technical marvel. You know what I mean? So maybe we could talk about some technical marvels in gaming that we've been impressed with. You know?
That sounds kind of interesting. Like when we were blown away by some kind of cool tech or technical solution in a game.
Yeah. Technical marvels in gaming.
Yeah, I like that.
Sure.
Yeah, I can immediately come to think of a few subjects in that topic.
Yeah, I can too. I can totally think of just a few on the top of my head.
But I gotta, Brian, I gotta bring up a question that Chris had before in the chat about campaigns versus sandbox. Do you have anything about that?
Interesting. Oh, interesting. That could kind of go along with that topic we had earlier, the long games. We could dovetail, use Spass's word, dovetail into campaign versus sandbox. And which do we prefer? What do you guys think about that one? Not a bad idea. Any objections to that one?
I think it can work well.
No.
Go ahead and add it.
Working on it.
Have you ever done the whole desert island game thing?
We have.
Did we do it with this crew, though? Did we do it with this crew?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have.
Okay, good. I'm glad someone remembers. David. All right. I'm going to move this up. Hang on. Come on. The thing. There we go. We're going to move this. All right. Oh, we haven't. Have we talked about mods? Good question, Chris. Have we talked about? I don't know if we've talked about mods. I mean, we could do a whole show just on free space mods, but.
Oh yeah. We have done mod shows. Well, I see one right off the bat that I remember from 2019. So yeah, we have done that before.
But with the old crew, not with the new crew.
Yeah.
Okay, so we should do mods 2.0. All right. Wow, we're trucking along. This is great. We have like at least a dozen topics here. This is fabulous, you guys. This is so great. Oh, this is exactly what I wanted out of this show. This is so great. I love it. I love it. And the more topics we come up with, the longer it'll be until we have to do this again. Like we're going to have to do this for several months now. But I like this. I think I want to do this again at some point because I like this. Mods is a great idea, Chris. There's so many of them out there. There's so many of them. And so many of them are awesome. So many of them are amazing. So that's a great idea. Okay. Any other ideas from you guys?
I've got one.
Go for it.
Okay, this is an interesting one.
Okay.
Compared to what we usually do.
Sure.
Games in which combat is not a factor.
Oh.
You're talking about like ghost playthroughs and games that allow it?
Well, you could use that as a subtopic, but the idea I'm thinking of is games in which you may not even have combat as an option. And I'm not even saying peaceful games, but games in which you have no direct combat involved. So
okay. I like it.
To use an example, like Off-World Trading Company.
That's true. There's no combat in that. It's all about the stock.
There is combat though, but it's not direct. You hire pirates to attack your enemy companies, and then they do that work.
So games in which direct combat is not a factor.
Well, you could say games in which direct combat is not a factor, or where you don't have an option for direct combat. So it's not exactly peaceful games necessarily, or without conflict, but without combat.
Right. I like it. Any objections?
No,
not at all.
Like city builders, Chris. Yeah. Like there's no combat in SimCity 2000. For example.
If there is, you're doing it wrong.
Crap. Hang on. Voice Mirror just took a dump. Okay. Test. How do I sound?
Yep, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
I just hope it doesn't do it again in 5 seconds. It might. Oh, God. So frustrating. That's why I do a backup recording on OBS. Just in case. Wow. Okay, that's a great idea. Oh, that makes me think of an idea. Which games have the best sound? Not music, sound. Have we done that? I don't think we've done that. Or which games do we think have like our favorites? You know, like ooh, what games like have amazing sound design? You know, that kind of thing. I don't think we've done that. I don't think we've done that. Favorite sound.
Okay, I've got to make while you're doing that. I've got to make a correction on soundtracks.
Yes,
we did a show in 2024.
Ah, damn it! All right, that's fine. I'll delete that one. Okay.
We could just table it. We could table it, but yeah, it's because I'd search for music, not soundtracks.
Okay. Hang on. Let me come up with another checklist. Hang on. Okay. All right. Let me. All right. Sorry, just doing this thing. All right. Thank you.
But sound effects we have not done a show on.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Oh. All right. I'm doing all this in Trello. Yeah, Chris, that's the one that came to my mind too. I like that one.
So a side idea to add to that would be not necessarily voice acting, because that sort of relates under sound, but
voice acting.
The soundscape of both the voices and sound. To give you an example of what I'm thinking of.
Sorry, I think voices.
I'm thinking Rebel Galaxy Outlaw.
Right, but I was going to say
I don't want it as a separate topic.
I think it could be a separate topic because voice acting is so prolific. I think we could talk about our favorite, not only our favorite game, not only the favorite like games with good voice acting in it, but our favorite voice actors. I think that
in fact, my sister could fill up a whole show about that by herself.
I think we could totally do a separate show, you know, favorite voice acting and voice actors.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we totally could.
She's reached the point where she can say, "Oh, I know who that voice actor is just by watching the show."
Well, yeah, but in terms of gaming, though, well,
gaming too. Every time I play Skyrim, yeah.
I totally think we could do a separate show just on voice acting and voice actors.
I might have to recuse myself from that one.
No. I think you have an insight that would be useful. So I don't think you should.
No, I mean, sorry, I shouldn't talk about anything on this. Sorry, I shouldn't say anything else.
Do you want to not do this topic then? I can take it off the list.
I don't see. That's the thing, is I don't see it as an objection, but I don't really think I should be the one to talk about this.
We could talk about it further. Like if I just want to do what you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with it, we'll talk about it later. Let's.
Yeah, we can table that and discuss it off stream, I think.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay. Oh yeah, Master of the new Master of Orion, the baby's first 4Xs, I like to call it. Yeah, that one had what? Dwight Schultz, and I think Michael Dorn. That one had several good, that had a lot of good voice acting in it. Okay. All right. I think we can start wrapping up. It's been almost an hour, and we've come up with almost 24 topics here. Fantastic. All right. Friends in the chat, thank you so much for your ideas. This has been fantastic. We've come up with so many good ideas. And now, since none of us have objected to these ideas, I am going to put them in a wheel. And we are going to decide which, why are there empty things? Why are there empty things? Hello? Huh. Oh. 35 entries? What are you talking about? There we go. All right. We're going to spin the wheel. And next week on the show, we are going to do Android and iOS hardware. All right. That's what we're doing next week. So, chat especially, thank you so much for chiming in with your great ideas. A lot of great ideas. We have several weeks worth of shows now. What we're going to do for episode 500, I have no idea. We're creeping up on that. I have no idea what we're going to do for it yet, but we're creeping up on episode 500. My God. So yeah. So hopefully that'll be fun, but we have no idea what we're going to do for it yet. So thank you so much for chat. Thank you so much for chiming in. You had a lot of great ideas today. I really appreciate it. What are we playing tomorrow? Oh yeah, Everspace 2. I'm both excited and dreading it at the same time. So yeah, that's what we're playing tomorrow. So have a great day, everyone. Be safe, be well, take care of each other. Please get vaccinated if you haven't already. Get your shots, wear your masks while you still can before they take the vaccines and the boosters away. They're talking about that, at least here in America. Thank you as always to our patrons who literally help keep the lights on around here. Don't forget, I've started a new thing called Retro Dogfight, which is a podcast about old flight sims. And don't forget